So before we synchronize the carburetors, we have to make sure everything else is properly set first. So one of the things we have to have set before we can synchronize the carbs is we have to have the timing all done. And we also have to make sure we have our cam chain adjusted and our valves done. I already have all of these things done, but before I go ahead and do the synchronization, I wanted to really make sure that my timing was spot on. I did this a few months ago, and I honestly don't remember doing the procedure, although I already finished the video for it. So anyways, I thought I would just show you in real time instead of the time lapse how to set the timing on one of these. I believe this is called static timing. You can use the timing light too, but in the beginning, before your bike's running well, sometimes it's best to do it the static way. It's super easy. All you do is you just get one of these test lights. You make sure your ignition switch is on and your coils are hot, and you just plug that into a ground. Come over here with our insulated little clip. Make sure we don't touch any grounds, and we're just going to grab that little bolt right there. Then we're going to take our wrench and we're going to turn it. If you're on this side of the crank, we go clockwise. If you're on the other side, it would be counterclockwise. And we're just going to turn this until we get to the timing, the firing position for cylinder 1 and 4. So if we look in here right now, let's see if I can zoom in. It says 1, 4 right there. So that means we're on the 1 and 4 firing side. So after the letters or the numbers 1 and 4, we should see the letter T and the letter F for top dead center and for firing. So here's the F. And let me grab, let's see if I can get a better pointer. Hold on. So if we take a look, there is right in here that little cut up on this top piece right here. There's like a black thing right there, and that's the indicator mark. And what we want is we want the firing mark to line up perfectly with that, and when that happens, our light should go off. So let me zoom out a little so you can see the light. And as I turn this, let's see if I can't do it where we can all see at the same time, huh? Oh, there we go. So can you see that the light is on? And if I kind of nudge it back a hair, you can see that it's just barely turning on right there at that spot. And what is that spot? Well, if we look in that window right there, that's going to end up being the F mark here. Whoops, probably shouldn't have grounded that out. And that's going to be pointed right to that pointer. There we go. So we can see we got this fire line here, and it's lined up perfectly with that little divot that's cut in there. Okay, so that tells us that our 1 and 4 cylinder are now timed correctly. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the crank over until we get to the other side, which will be down here right now. And it's going to say 2 and 3 cylinder, and it'll have top dead center and firing also. And so we're going to do the same, but now we got to use the other set of points. So in order to do that, we just take this one off of here. We're going to hook this one up over to this set of points, like so. Careful not to touch this metal clip on any of the grounds, and then we can just ground this right in there. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to slowly turn this until we get to the other side. And she is tight like a dish. Oh! There we go. Okay, so if we look in right now into the little peephole, we see number 2 and 3. So that tells us we're coming up on cylinder 2 and 3 firing position, and you can even see the F peeking through next to the 2 over there. And so what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to get that same line above the F lined up with that same little indicator notch. So let's turn a little bit. And we'll see right when this light, let's zoom out, and let's see right when the light comes on. Right about there, huh? Okay, now let's take a look in the window there and see where we're at. This guy just wants to stay up, doesn't he? So if we take a look, we're perfectly set up with this line here right into that guy. And if I was to just move it a tiny hair off, well, I guess you can't see because the freaking flashlight is so dang bright. But this guy here is just a tiny hair away from not lighting. And that's what we want. That's when we know our timing's right. When we have that light turning on right at that moment when that fire, that F mark, lines up with our indicator up there. So now we know that our bike is timed correctly. Let me quickly get up here and turn off my coils so we don't do no damage. And now that we know the bike's timed correctly, we also have all the valves set. We also have the cam chain tightened or adjusted. So now we're all ready to do our synchronization. Okay, now that we've got everything all set up and the timing and the cam chains adjusted, the valves are set, all that kind of stuff is all set aside. The carburetors, as you might remember from way back when I did the carburetor video on this, I bench synced them, which just means that you synced them while on your bench. And that should get you within the ballpark, so to speak, and be able to allow you to be able to run the bike. So once you got the bike to this point and you're ready for the carb synchronization, the next step is you got to remove the gas tank. You're going to have to hook up some sort of an auxiliary fuel bladder, and then you're going to want to run the bike for about 5 to 10 minutes until it's warm. Since I'm doing it in the garage, I got to open the garage all up and get a fan on and everything so I don't die from carbon monoxide poisoning. After it's all warmed up, I'll get the camera back on. And then what we're going to do is we hook up our carb synchronizer tool to the intake manifolds. And this model has the vacuum port right here that we can access. And I'll explain more once we get to that step. So for now, I'm just going to go and get the bike running and warmed up. Okay, the bike is all warmed up. It's been about 8 minutes, maybe 7. And now we're going to go ahead and hook up the carb synchronizer. This is a new one I just got, so I can't verify if it's actually going to work. But I did get it off Amazon, and it was only $39. Once you get them, you're supposed to zero out all of them. But I got lucky, and all of mine, except for that one, is zeroed. So I only have to zero this one. In order to do that, you just take off one of these cheapo plastic covers, and then you take your screwdriver, which mine came with one. And then you gotta really crank the crap out of these to turn them. So overshot that one a little bit. Let's bring him back. Oh my goodness, these things are so tough to move. Okay, so about halfway on that 0 block. In case you haven't ever done this, it doesn't matter what any of those numbers say, you just want them to all be the same. As well as after you hook it up, it doesn't matter what they read. You just want them to all 4 be the same as each other. The kit comes with these M5 and M6 adapters. So what we do is we come on down here and we're going to take out that screw I showed you earlier on the manifold. And on, this is cylinder 4. So on cylinder 4 I find the M6 short one, which is going to be this one right here. One of these bigger ones that are short. And then I'm going to take that screw out right there from the next cylinder, number 3, and I'll thread in one of these longer tubes with the M6 big connection on the end. That way it's easier to hook up the longer ones, you know, so you can reach the inside. And then you go around, you do cylinder 1 and 2 the same, and then we hook all 4 up to the vacuum little cage, the bank there. And then we start the bike. We'll adjust the bleeder valves to make them so they don't move around too crazy. And then we go through and we adjust all of them so they all are the same. What we'll do is we'll look at the vacuum reading and we'll find out which one we like the best. Usually if there's 2 or 3 cylinders that are the same, we'll choose those. And then the other ones that are the oddballs we'll adjust. This is going to be your adjustment. It's an 8mm nut with a little flathead adjuster. And all that does is that lifts the slide and lowers the slide. And if one of the slides is up too high or more than the others or down too low, it's going to cause more or less vacuum than the others and cause the bike to have issues. Typical issues with synchronization is the bike has a hard time idling. Sometimes it wants to skyrocket and go up to like 4,000 RPM, and then you adjust the little idle adjuster and then it drops down and wants to die. And usually you can tell when they're not synced if it's that nightmare scenario where you can't ever get the idle to set right. Another way to tell if your carbs aren't in sync is if you put it in a low gear, low RPM, like let's say you're in 2nd gear or 3rd gear going like 2,000 RPM up a hill, it should be able to still get you up the hill slowly. If they're not in sync, a lot of times it'll bog down and it'll try to die on you. Anyways, a lot of talking there. Sorry about all that. We'll get back to the work. I'm going to hook those guys all up, and then I'll turn the camera back on and show you. We'll start the bike up and kind of take a look together before we start doing the adjustments. Okay, we got the vacuum gauge all hooked up, all 4 of them, and we set it up so that way each one corresponds to the same cylinder. So like this went to number 1, this went to 2, 3, and 4. That's important because as you're looking at this, you don't want them to be mixed up. So if this one's off, I want this one to be showing that it's off. I was wrong about these ports. They're M5. They are not the M6. So I'm a complete idiot. Anyways, so we got those things all in and everything is squared away. What we're going to do now is go ahead and start the bike. I can't do it with the phone in my hand because I got to squeeze the clutch. So let me set the phone down, I'll get the bike started, and then we'll take a look together. Okay, I don't know how well you can hear me, but we'll take a look. They're all different. More than likely we'll pick one of these 2 and we'll try to set those to that. Another thing worth mentioning is your RPMs should be around 2,000. As you can see, my RPM gauge is broke. So I got to kind of just guess. That screw came out, that one's loose, so I think I'm just going to have to replace that. So I'm going to go ahead and try to find some way to set this up so you can see it as I go through and adjust. But basically, I got to come in here, loosen up this lock nut, start the bike up, and then I'm going to try and pick, I think number cylinder 2 had a good vacuum read, meaning that it wasn't the highest and it wasn't the lowest. So it's just one of the cylinders that's in the mid-range. So we'll pick that one. We'll try to get 3 and 4 to match that, and then we'll go over and we'll do number 1. Like I said, we'll just take it as it comes. Okay, so I got them all pretty close. Okay, I got them all pretty close to each other. Basically what I would do is, I think if I remember correctly, if I loosened it, it brought the vacuum down, and if I tightened it, it brought the vacuum up. So I can't get my little open-end wrench in here. So what I do is I find out the vacuum reading and get it correct when the flathead's at that spot. And then I would turn it back like almost like a 1/8 to a 1/4 turn under where I want it. That way when I cinch down that 1/8, that last little bit, it grabs it and it ends up turning that, because I'm using my socket instead of an open-end wrench like I'm supposed to. So that would help me. So when I tightened it, it would end up in the spot that I wanted it. I don't know if you could tell or if you could even hear me, but they were all pretty much around 7 to 8. And that's pretty close. They don't have to be exactly perfect. I don't even know if this gauge is perfect. But I can hear that the bike's running better, it starts better, and it idles better already. So even though I did a really good bench check on it, or bench sync, this shows that without the actual vacuum sync, the bike never just runs as good as it could. So real quick, let me see if I can show you me starting the bike. Let's see if I can hold the clutch and this at the same time. I know, not the best angle, but let's try it. What do I need? A key, wrong position. So as you can hear, the idle is adjustable now. I could put it down as low as like 500 all the way up to 10,000 if I wanted. So that's a good way to know that the carbs are now synced. So we can go ahead and we can put it all back together. As far as running and tuning, it's completely done now. So we get the seat, side covers, tank back on, unhook all of this and plug up our vacuum ports, and we can go take it for a ride. I actually got it all legalized. So she's good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and put it all back together. At some point today or tomorrow, I'll finish the video by showing it out in the sun and a slow walk around and maybe a ride along with me.